Hey guys, what's going on? Let's have an album review for the new PUTRID Tomb self-titled EP. So yeah, if you guys don't know PUTRID Tomb, old school style death metal band from San Diego, California. It's my buddy Kian's band, so I thought I'd give it an honest, fair review. Make a completely unbiased review and give this shit some well-deserved exposure because this shit's really good and I think you guys should get on it. But anyways, here's the album cover, really cool. This is actually done by the same guy who did Morpheus Descends. I forgot the name of the album, but really sick though. It's got that really old school sort of look to it. There's the back that's put out through Desert Wastelands. So you got, 6 songs on here. One of them being a bonus track, which is a cover of Necrophobic's Unholy Prophecies. But you've got Heaven's Gate, Afterbirth, The Reanimator, Comatose, or Comatose Soul Psychosis, which is like a acoustic sort of interlude, and then the song PUTRID Tomb, and then Unholy Prophecies. There's the disc. I kind of like the way the disc looks, how they there's the artwork around the logo like that, but it's like clear around the logo. I think that looks really cool. This looks like you got a close-up of some of the art in the tray. Picture of the band. I actually did vocals for these guys for a couple shows last summer, so that was really fun. Anyways, I got put in the thanks list, which was really cool. It's pretty humbling. So I don't know if you can see right there, Julian. It won't focus, but it says Julian and Flesh Mangled, which of course is my band. So that's really cool. Here's all the lyrics. Pretty cool. Pretty horror themed, especially Afterbirth. Afterbirth reminds me a lot of Deeds of Flesh. Kind of early Deeds of Flesh stuff reminds me a lot of Born Then Torn Apart. The Reanimator is definitely, obviously, horror inspired. You can tell just off the title. Heaven's Gate, I want to say, is about some cult or something like that. And then the song PUTRID Tomb seems like it's got some kind of devourment-y, necrophilia type of lyrics. Cool shit. So anyways, as far as the style goes, I know the name PUTRID Tomb makes it sound like they'd be some sort of super reverb drenched incantation worship or something, but it's definitely not. I'd say stylistically, this is, as far as old school death metal goes, this is most akin to early Suffocation and Gorguts. I don't know if I'd say Immolation, but the type of, because Immolation kind of falls into the same category of bands of the old school death metal bands who are leaning a little more towards the brutal side. Obviously, Suffocation being straight up brutal death metal, but they're part of OSDM culturally. But yeah, if you like Breeding the Spawn, Gorguts Considered Dead, you'll like this. But it's not just worship of that stuff; it's a mix of a lot of things. But that's what I hear the most. There's a few more incantation-y, kind of slow, doomy parts, but they don't sound like incantation worship necessarily. That's just the only OSDM I can think of that does the doomy parts similarly. But there's no crazy reverb on the vocals or anything like that. In fact, I would say the vocals on this from Kian are more brutal death metal. He sounds more like Joe Tychek from Broken Hope, or 1995, Demo 95 era Matty Way. Just super guttural, really scary sounding, very hard to discern sort of lyrics. The way he enunciates, it's very slobbery. It sounds so nasty, it's sick. Guitar tone on here, I don't think it's HM2, but it has a similar buzzsaw-y sort of sound. But it's not heavily midded out or anything like that. A lot of more stale modern OSDM seems to be. Production wise, this has a lot more life to it. There's a lot more energy on this recording. The drums have a really natural sort of sound to them, which is something that is very unique for a death metal release in general. Because most of the time, the drums on brutal death metal, old school death metal, any of that stuff, they're a lot more flat sounding, whereas it sounds like you're actually listening to a band rehearse in a garage or something when you hear the drums on this. And I mean that in the best way possible. It's not super raw or anything like that. It just has a more the drums sound more alive than you would usually get from a death metal album. I don't know how to explain it, but it's the way they're mixed, really. They sound completely unfiltered. I don't think there's any triggers or anything like that. They just have a really natural, very real sort of sound to them. The bass is a little quiet in the mix, but there's a couple of bass breaks. I think in Afterbirth there's one, and I want to say there's one on the song PUTRID Tomb. So that's pretty cool. Just really impressive musicianship. Songwriting wise, I'd say that's probably the most impressive thing about this album, because this sounds like if you took like Gorguts and Early Suffocation and that type of stuff, and you made it so that they were playing like Deeds of Flesh, basically, because the songs are as angular and maze-like as, say, like Trading Pieces era Deeds of Flesh, but they have that old school death metal tinge to like the melodies and a lot of the riffs, which is really cool. And it's pretty unique in my opinion. It's a really unique combination of sounds that I wouldn't expect to come out nowadays, because most modern old school death metal is a lot more simplistic and is more like simple riff based, whereas this, like, riffs change all the time. Sometimes you can't even tell what's going on. It's very angular and maze like, which is something that I really appreciate, because that's something I love in a lot of brutal death metal. And hearing that with an OSDM kind of like eerie melodic, how like a lot of like Autopsy and stuff like that have like those really creepy kind of horror movie sounding almost melodies. It's like that mixed in with the brutality, speed, and energy of brutal death metal, with also like the technicality that the genre has as well. But anyways, I'd say Heaven's Gate and Reanimator are the best songs on here. Heaven's Gate has kind of a doomy part at the end that I really like. It builds a lot of energy. It's not just slow for the sake of adding a slow part. It really does build like energy. It creates a lot of tension. There's some really sick vocal patterns as well on this album, or EP. I mean, something that's kind of neat about the vocals is they kind of wrap their way around the songs because they're so technical. They don't necessarily, like, the musicianship never scales back so that the vocals can shine. And I know that sounds like a complaint, but I mean that in the best way possible. Is that like the vocal patterns are really like confusing almost in like a cool sort of like angular technical sort of way. Reanimator has like a catchy kind of chorus to it at one part. It reminds me a lot of it's one Cancer song. What is it? Back from the Dead. Yeah, and then I'd say the song PUTRID Tomb is probably the weakest on here, but it's still a really good one. Opens up kind of slower, but builds up energy as it goes along. It gets really maniacal at some points. The only like criticism I could give this really is I think that I don't know how to explain it. I think sometimes the drums, there's like non-stop fills and stuff. I think maybe if the drums were scaled back just a little bit, some of the riffs would shine a little more. But even then, I do really enjoy the drum work, though, because it gives us a very angular sort of feel. I also wish the vocals were just a little bit louder in the mix, because the vocals on this are really sick, but they're a little more low in the mix, for sure. I also think that the guitar solos could be a little louder in the mix, too. The guitar solos on this are really sick. They're more like, really old school sounding, kind of like, think like Rick Ross and like Death and Massacre, like, very like Kerry King worship sort of solos, a lot of whammy, stuff like that. Really cool. Overall, I think I would give this release a solid 8 out of 10. Some of the best like old school death metal to come out nowadays, and I'm not just saying that because I'm friends with the dude in the band, but it really is good stuff, though. It's unique. It doesn't sound like your average cookie cutter release from a label like Desert Wastelands or I don't know, like fucking what's the label from forget about it. But anyways, yeah, overall I'd say this is a really solid release. 8 out of 10, like I said. Good stuff. Go check it out. Go give PUTRID Tomb support. I would highly recommend this if you like old school death metal, or even if you like brutal death metal. There's definitely some enjoyment to be had in this with the technicality of the songs and the way the vocals sound. Because this thing is pretty fucking guttural for old school death metal. Even by the standards of brutal death metal, the vocals are pretty low. But yeah, really cool shit. So PUTRID Tomb, self-titled EP. Go check it out. So that's it for this video, though. Hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.